Okay, we are starting right on time, and I am here for this celebration. We are celebrating, and my mystery guest has been revealed to all. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this celebration. This is about thanking all of you for subscribing to this channel, this endeavor, which has been such a joy in my life, and meeting wonderful people, all of you, and this guy here. It has been my extreme pleasure and honor to come to know Mr. or Dr. A.P. Canavan, whose channel is, of course, A Critical Dragon. My mystery guest, I'm sure none of you ever would have guessed that it was A.P.
It was such a cunning disguise, Philip. It was like light night and day, Clark Kent and Superman. No one could have broken that disguise.
I'm telling you. It's good stuff,
Well,
right?
Thank you very much for inviting me, because it is a real honor to be here with you celebrating 15,000 subscribers, 1 million views on the channel. This is fantastic, Philip. It is brilliant to see that someone who is intelligent, caring, empathetic, is trying to explore and share the exploration of literature in both an academic and accessible way, is being rewarded with this level of viewership, this level of commitment. And I think that needs to be pointed out. You are a great individual. You're doing a great service. You're providing fun, entertainment, and education. And I am so pleased and proud to have been a very tiny part of it. So thank you.
You are a huge part of it, my friend. So, but thank you so much. And it really is interesting to me because I had no clue what I was doing when when I started this channel. I have to say that I very much appreciate the culture that existed already here. This thing called BookTube. It's just it was something that I had to learn a lot about, and I've come to appreciate in so many ways. I've said many times that this has helped me to become a better teacher, BookTube that is, and I am absolutely astounded at the level of interaction that one can have here on this platform, meeting all kinds of just super people, and the dialogue that has taken place over the last 2 years and change has been just so wonderful. And I'm humbled by the fact that there are people out there who like this weird combination of an academic who is also trying to basically talk to people and learn from them. And it's just it's a huge joy in my life to be part of this. So
because I think this is a really important point. Everyone wants, well, everyone that we sort of know, we want to talk about books, and we all have an individual way of talking about books. And we always try to emphasize that it's about your response to the books, and we learn from each other. And that includes old fuddy-duddies like us who have a slightly more academic approach. I don't think we have ever said that you must have a PhD or have studied this in order to talk about and think about and enjoy books. But what we were very privileged to be educated on and to experience, we want to add to everyone else's discussion. And that's the great thing about this platform. We add to the ongoing conversations. We're never shutting them down. We're part of the conversation and going, well, that's great. Let's look at it a slightly different way. And that generates, I think, not only more interest and engagement with works, but helps stimulate further conversation instead of shutting things down and going, yep, this is the final word on this matter. I'm done. It's no, like, let's have fun. And there's a reason academia has a real reputation for being boring.
This is true.
And you and I have both experienced certain lectures, say, where we were sitting there going, I need matchsticks to hold my eyes open, and someone just hit me with the adrenaline because I'm dying here. This is absolutely tedious.
Yeah.
And yet so much in the content, even of those lectures, was fascinating. And it's trying to find a way to share our enthusiasm, our love of this stuff, and the different approaches we can take.
Yes, absolutely. And that is what this is about. I think we are passionate about storytelling. And that is something that both of us, you've taught as well, although you escaped from academia.
I fled.
You fled from academia. Probably you're the wiser of us too. But at any rate, it is something that we are very passionate about, storytelling, and we love it in the classroom. Both of us, I think we would agree on this. Interacting with students is an incredible privilege. It is a learning experience for us. Some of the greatest moments in my life are when a student has said to me, "Thank you for this course. You've helped me to appreciate literature in a way that I hadn't before. And now I think I'm going to go read some more," something like that. And it's like, wow, okay, I touched somebody's life in a way that I hope was very positive. So it's something that I'm passionate about. But guess what? We get to touch thousands and thousands and thousands of lives. People
Hang on a sec.
this platform. Yes.
Hang on a sec. I'm not touching anyone, Philip. I want this very, very clear, that and perfectly understood. You might go around touching thousands and thousands of people. But what you do in your spare time, that's entirely up to you.
Why did I invite this guy? Oh my goodness. So yes, yeah, okay. I was speaking, of course, metaphorically. We are literature people here. We understand metaphors. So
using this doll, can you show me where you were touching these people?
in here, of course, or here. So, AP, you're so naughty, really. Come on now. So yes, I mean, it is such a privilege to be here and to have all these people say, help us with this experience, because it would be meaningless without all these people. Just a quick answer. I've been trying to keep up with comments. I apologize in advance because I'm not going to be able to keep up with all of them, but I'm so touched and grateful for every single one of you that's here. But book news, basically, I have no real news. My agent did submit the books to publishers a little over 2 weeks ago. And I understand it could take quite some time for the editors at the publishing houses to read the material and then get back to, they have a lot of, I guess, planning to do. So I understand that it can take quite a while, sometimes months even. So I guess I have to just be patient somehow or other. But more exciting book news is that my third book is now in the hands of my developmental editor. So yes, that is the most exciting thing currently. So there was your mustache. Oh, thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate that a whole ton. Wow. Yeah. Good. Yeah, I'm so glad. And I'd love to hear your Malazan thoughts. But yeah, so that's the most exciting thing that is going on right now, is that AP is reading my third book. And so far, AP is, I don't even know what you think really about the book as a whole, but I think it's okay, right?
See, I think people have to understand. I was meant to be reading A Crippled God for our Malazan read-along. And then you went, hang on, AP reads a wee bit faster than me. I know. I'll send him my third book and he'll have to go and do that. And I can get a jump on A Crippled God and make everyone think that I read faster than AP.
That is exactly my plan, my nefarious plan. So I can I could stay ahead of Professor Fireballs by throwing a big fat book at him. Haha. So yeah.
I will say that I've started going through the third book, and thus far I'm really engaged. But one of the big things, obviously, with developmental editing is you have to finish it. to see what the whole shape of the narrative is.
Right.
And then because at the minute, I'll explain my process again very, very briefly. So as I read through, I make notes in the margin as I'm going along. By the way, the new version of Word is really frustrating to do this in. They have changed how comments work.
Oh,
And
no.
I don't like change.
So it's harder for you to change my characters' names then, you're saying?
But I read down through it and I'm making a lot of notes. Some of those notes are really intended just for me as an aid memoir. Some I will leave in, obviously, for Philip to review, because then he gets a first reader's impression, what you would generally have, like, say, on a beta read. Then I'll have usually comments about the chapter that I have just read, or scene comments, depending on what needs or what I think is important to talk about. And they will finish off each chapter.
Yeah.
Then once I've finished reading through the entire thing, that's when I go back and I start thinking about movements and structures, the things that happen, and start adding in additional notes. Then I tend to add things to the end of the chapter summaries, and then write up the full editorial report with major aspects of plot and all that sort of stuff. So that's the process. It's quite time intensive.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, what a developmental editor does is, and we had a chat about it once, but it takes a tremendous amount of time, because just imagine how long it takes to just read a book. And this is a fairly thick book. My third one is bigger than the second, which is bigger than the first. So they get longer. And
they get longer and thicker. Oh my.
Oh God. Oh, oh my goodness. So
yeah, we're going to have an intelligent discussion about editing and writing, and then throw in the odd innuendo.
Yes, indeed. I keep stumbling into them, so it's just it's good that you're around to help me realize what I've stumbled into. But anyway, it's okay. What do you think, AP? Does it lean more literary or genre?
Well, literary is a genre. Genre, I'm assuming they mean sort of like genre fantasy of the codified thing. But if you're talking about, how would you describe Tolkien? Because I think where I know people go, Tolkien and Game of Thrones are usually the comparisons that people make when they're talking about fantasy. But in terms of the Anglo-Saxon and Norse aesthetics and aspects that have been interwoven, that's very Tolkien-esque.
Yeah,
it's written in, and I hope you wouldn't mind me describing it this way, but it's written in that it is a modern style, but with that flavor from classic fantasy. I think it is straddling that divide between what we would associate with classic fantasy and a lot of things like Tolkien, and written in that slightly more formal and with archaism sort of patterned into and integrated into the actual language and sentence construction, but written by a modern author who is aware of plot, the action, the different things that modern readers really want in their fantasy stories. Yeah. So I think this is very much straddling the best of both those aspects.
Yeah, I would agree. And when the Gwyn brothers, Ed and Will, read the first book, they said some very similar things. In terms of, I think Ed described it as a kind of like a Tolkien landscape with the characters that seemed like they escaped from a Gemmell book. So I don't know if you would agree with that, but in terms of the modern, I think, feel of the books, perhaps that's an accurate description. But
yeah, and there's certainly, while I think people oversimplify the morality of Tolkien's work, Tolkien's work, in comparison to a lot of modern fantasy, feels more morally black and white.
Yes.
And do not get me wrong, there is nuance, there is complexity to Tolkien's construction of morality, but in comparison, say, to Joe Abercrombie, Stephen Erickson, Robin Hobb, those modern authors write in a more psychologically complex way.
Right.
Gemmell is sort of in that in between space, where that is the movement that was happening in UK fantasy, sort of part of Moorcock and that whole transition, and the rise of that darker, almost anti-Thatcherite sort of response that we saw.
Yeah.
But your characters, I think, have that modern construction of complexity to them. And yes, it is, I wouldn't say it's a Tolkien-esque world. It is very different to Tolkien, but it's drawing on similar sources. So you can see the colors that Tolkien was picking out. You have used those same colors to draw a different landscape, to paint and create a different landscape.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So I can see that. But if someone was going to say it's a bit like Gemmell, I'd go, it's very hard to pick out an aspect of Gemmell that I would see in those books, because Gemmell's writing is much more journalistic. And because of that, even how he describes and moves characters is very, very different.
Yeah.
So, but that's part of, what you look at when you look at prose.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And another reader, I can say this publicly because Mark Lawrence was public about the fact that he read my book. And he also, in his blurb, compared the writing to Tolkien and to John Gwynne, which I was tremendously flattered by. So yeah, I think that seems to be a kind of consensus that I've been hearing from people. So it's exciting to me to hear comments like that, because I feel like people are getting what I was going for. The people who have read it. So I'm really happy.
Although I have to admit, I was surprised that you had the Martians arrive with this flying saucer and their death rays, and their robotic T-Rex destroying everything. Like, I think maybe that element we might need to have a discussion about how well it's integrated into this fantasy realm.
Really? I thought it was seamless. But okay, thank you for the question, Avi. And I come up with the names based on the cultures they're coming from. So AP mentioned the Old Norse and Old English. So I've taken names straight out of Old English and Old Norse for some of the characters. Yeah.
Sorry, homage.
But I also there, and those names are very Welsh inspired. That is a language that I learned with some Irish. Actually, you'd be happy to know, AP. There's some Irish sounding names in there too.
I've spotted a couple, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. And then, of course, I lived in South Asia, and there's another set of cultures that are very much inspired by that part of the world. And so the names reflect names that you would find in that part of the world, although I have tweaked them usually, so they might not actually be names you would find in South Asia, but to me, they sound South Asian. So yeah, that's how I did that. So yeah. And here's some more. I want to get to more of these wonderful comments from all these beautiful people here. And you have a compliment here. And there's Joanna here. And lots of my fellow Jimmy was here. And Jake from Man Carrying Thing was here. And there's, of course, Joanna. And all kinds of wonderful people. Okay, and there's Livia, who is your researcher.
I would have to say, Livia has done some incredible deep dives, research into the archive. She's been trolling security footage. Really, in fact, I'm not sure if people have seen this one that she managed to find. Let me see if I can turn my screen here.
Oh my goodness! No, you did not do this.
No, but I'm not sure if this ever came up before. So this is obviously when Philip was in his jock stage.
Yes, that was when I was playing a lot of football. Yeah, a lot of working out there, bench press, all that. I know probably Jimmy's feeling very intimidated right now by this, but yeah. Did have that nice little trinket there too to help me out.
So that's Livia does a lot of research and she finds those things for me.
She is just brilliant. She's an amazing researcher, and I have to say, I don't know how she keeps uncovering these. I thought these parts of my past were well hidden. Oh, what a wonderful question. I do. And unlike my friend here next to me, I'm a very visual reader and visual writer. So I do picture scenes as I'm writing. In fact, I will probably sit down or lie down and think about the scene and visualize it before I write the scene. Often I actually do that. And then I try to write the scene. It's never quite exactly what I visualize. And then as you write, I think, or as I write, there's a sort of interaction between the writing and the visualization, and it ends up with hopefully something that feels good in the end. But yeah, that's how I go about it. So yeah, what else have we got here?
And for anyone wondering, I fully recommend having a nemesis. It's a lot of fun.
Even though you were ready to throw me under the bus when I was kidnapped the other day. And you were
Subterranean Press books or you.
Yeah.
I can get another nemesis. Do you know how expensive it would be to try and get another Subterranean Press set?
Now, I think, okay, we're talking about expensive, yes, but a good nemesis is priceless, no?
Priceless in that there's no price associated with it. They come completely free.
Oh my goodness, you guys! I mean, I was kidnapped, and the kidnapper, who was a very tough guy, was demanding a ransom, and the ransom was AP's Subterranean Press edition of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. And you know what AP said? He said, "Keep Philip Chase. In fact, put him in a small cage." That's what he said.
Well, a cage at least has air holes in it. They were keeping you in a box. I was trying to upgrade your treatment.
Gee, thanks. Oh no.
Yeah, I should have said spoilers for the end of your story with that image that Livia found.
I know. She gave away the whole trilogy. Jeez. Now what am I gonna do? I have to come up with an alternate ending. So there she is. Credit to Livia, who is absolutely brilliant with Photoshop, I must say. So, okay. I think I'm not. I thought I was going to be caught up on the comments, but oh well, it's okay. So, oh yeah.
Well, I don't visualize when I read. And,
right. You've mentioned
that. But it's weird. I mean, I've never felt the need to. Because this is the way that I've always read. It's how I have always read. It never occurred to me that people, when they were reading, were seeing an image in their heads. So
interesting. Yeah, that's just something that I have no evidence whatsoever to support this. So it's just me blowing hot air out of my mouth as usual. But I'm guessing that people like you, and I know I saw a comment by Mark Lawrence. I think it was in response to something that Joanna had posted. But Mark Lawrence also said that he does not visualize anything when he writes. So there are people out there like you, AP, believe it or not. But I think you're a minority. What do you think?
To be honest, I have no idea. It's a bit like saying, obviously, I have issues with certain colors as well.
Uh-huh.
And, people go, oh, but like, how can you? But this is how I have always seen the world. This is my norm. And they go, oh, well, you must be in a minority. You're like, I have no idea. This is what the world looks like. This is what the experience is. And so it never occurred to me until I think it was Joanna's video to even think about the fact that other people are apparently, when they are reading books, seeing a film.
Yeah.
And you go, really? I'm reading. I don't know what you guys are doing.
Interesting. Huh.
I know, well, actually, I had inklings about this slightly earlier on, and it was Joanna's video really consolidated it, which was great. But in teaching, trying to explain why the prose is so important, and it's possibly because I'm not visualizing,
Uh-huh.
because I don't have a film running in my head where it is essentially filling in the blanks of what's on the page, that I am so heavily dependent on the language on the page.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, I think that helps with editing. I think it helps with understanding what is going on the page, because you're paying much more attention to the actual words rather than letting the words just inspire something that may be only tangentially related to what is being relayed.
Yeah.
But that's just a wild theory and guess.
Yeah, it's something I haven't really read about much, but it's curious. It's interesting. So here's a question from Evie. Absolutely. Actually, I enjoy editing, and possibly, and this might sound weird to people, but I actually might even enjoy editing more than the initial, just getting the words on the page, getting the it's like I often compare it to sculpting, where if you're sculpting with clay or something and just getting wads of clay, trying to get the basic form, that's the heavy lifting, that's the hard labor in a way, I think. And then later going back and fine tuning things and tweaking and putting in all the little wrinkles and the muscles and everything in there. It's just that's the part I enjoy the most, actually. So maybe that's weird, I don't know, but I love editing. Even more than the initial. I love both, really, because when I'm initially doing it, it's just trying to get stuff from here onto the page. So, but I do somehow take a lot of pleasure in editing. Yeah.
Weirdo, says the editor.
Non-fantasy. Oh, loads. I mean, so I'm very much coming to fantasy as a medievalist. So if you count the author of Beowulf and Chaucer and all the old Norse sagas and all that stuff, very much so. But yes, even modern writers, I would say, have influenced me, absolutely. Because I teach intro to literature every semester, and there are so many authors that I admire deeply, like James Baldwin, for example, who has this wonderful short story, Sonny's Blues, which, philosophically, it just speaks to me so beautifully. And Josh, I know that you're a musician. If you haven't read Sonny's Blues before, I highly recommend it, because I've never read a story that better explains the purpose of music than Sonny's Blues by James Baldwin. And it's such a beautiful story. That's an example. I teach stuff by authors like Kate Chopin and Ernest Hemingway and William Faulkner and of course Ursula Le Guin, but she's also fantasy. But yeah, just tons of authors who I'm sure they come out in my writing, in ways that I can't even anticipate. But absolutely, yeah. No question of that. And that's part of the beautiful thing about writing too, is I think that when you write, it's subconsciously, even some of it is very conscious, absolutely, but subconsciously, I think that your influences are churning around in your brain somewhere, and that when you're writing, you may not even realize who's peeking out there among all those various influences. And that's something that AP and I are probably going to talk about very soon, is originality and the idea of influence and inspiration versus copying and that sort of thing. Right, AP?
It's Neil Gaiman's talked about it. Terry Pratchett has talked about it. Bloom wrote the whole anxiety of influence. There is always a tension between what has inspired you to write, to create any artistic endeavor, the people that have gone before you, the mode that you are trying to express yourself in, the medium with which you are using, or the medium you are using to express the art that you are creating.
Yeah.
All of those things are going to have aspects that, have come before. And then there's but I want to do something new, but I want to do something that's also recognizable. So there's a tension between originality, which I think in the modern day, in the modern sense, has become such a fixation.
Yeah.
And yet, a story well told is its own reward. If you think of the number of Arthurian tellings and retellings and Arthurian inspired stories, we all basically know the story of Arthur. We know all of the major beats, we know the major characters. What is fascinating each and every time that we see a new one is how an author or a writer or a creative team have taken that structure, that blueprint, and from that blueprint created something new, something interesting, something that tells the story in a different way. And that, I think, we sometimes lose sight on because we keep emphasizing, oh, this is a new thing. Oh, this is new and improved. This is the latest hotness. And we focus on novelty.
Yep.
Something we haven't seen before. And we forget that quite often things that are reminiscent, things that are familiar, if they are done well, it doesn't matter if we already know where they are going.
Yep, absolutely. A couple people are asking about Gene Wolfe's Book of the New Sun. Absolutely, yes, I'm going to read it and cover it on the channel. AP and I are going to be reading, after we finish Malazan, which we are very soon going to do, probably this month, early next month, I'm going to start reading Jenny Wirtz's first book in the Wars of Light and Shadow. So that is a series that we're going to be reading together along with Jimmy and Joanna. Alan is bailing out on us, unfortunately, but I'm sure someday he'll read it too.
Well, that's because he hates both tall people and short people, apparently. He hates everyone of any height.
All tall and short people, yeah. So you have to be actually average for Alan to like you. So, but eventually, I definitely, also AP and I, we're probably going to read some Robin Hobb together and some Gemmell. David Gemmell. I'm really anxious to get to some Gemmell. I'm really looking forward to it. I had planned it out.
The Gemmell books are quick reads.
Yeah, we'll get to those for sure. To answer Marcus's question, absolutely yes, I'm a planner. So I pretty much knew how the books were going to end before I started writing. But things change as you write. So I'm not a complete architect, to use the term sometimes that people use. I'm willing to listen to the story and go where it tells me to go. And sometimes that happens. And that's part of that creative process where all that stuff is bubbling up. And sometimes it does stuff to you that you don't realize is going to happen. So absolutely. So yeah, Gemmell, I'm really looking forward to, actually. It's one of the many gaps in my fantasy reading for sure.
This is a weird thing. Like, we all have huge gaps. Even when I was studying specifically stuff from the 1980s and 1990s, the number of fantasy books published in the small subgenre that I was studying, you're talking about hundreds upon hundreds of books. No one can read all of them.
No,
it is literally impossible. And so because of that, we all have gaps. So then this could actually lead into a discussion of the idea of establishing a canon and the idea of what are important texts. But ultimately what it comes down to is finding books that we love. And sharing that with people.
And that's just it. I mean, I know I'm never going to be able to read all the books that I want to read. There's just no way I'm going to get there. So no way at all I'm going to get there. Oh, there's Mick Scarfield. Hello, Mick Scarfield. He'll be interested in my latest. It's not out yet, but Mick Scarfield in my latest Dear Dr. Fantasy, I talked to Jake Bishop and we had a good conversation about your fella, GGK. So yeah, you're going to enjoy that one, I think. Guy Gavriel K.
The Guy Gavriel K is a fantastic, phenomenal writer. And but again, very different type of fantasy, say, to Erickson and Esselmont, who we've been discussing a lot, and very different to Ursula K. Le Guin, and very different to N.K. Jemisin. That there's room in fantasy for all of these different approaches. So the Guy Gavriel K, it's one of the things that I truly admire about K's writing is the beauty of the language on the page, that attention to detail in word choice, sentence structure. And because of that, sentences flow, paragraphs flow. It is so evocative. And that is something that I truly value when I read.
Yeah. Yep. So much so. Thank you, everybody. I'm trying to get to as many comments as I can. Yes, Baker. I have R. Scott Baker planned. I'm supposed to get to it in August. I will probably get to it in late August, maybe early September. AP is not reading R. You've read it already.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it depends. Like I do have other things that I'm trying to do.
Yes, I know.
It's trying to balance. It's trying to balance, work, home life, doing YouTube videos on books.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And reading for pleasure. Now, sometimes, like if one of those disappeared, I would suddenly have a lot more time. But
yeah,
what do you get rid of?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh, Amish. I have reviewed one book by Amish, and I'm very curious. Actually, I think there's going to be some great fantasy coming out of South Asia in the next few years. So I'm very excited about that. I am scheduled to review a South Asian fantasy writer, not Amish, but that one is going to be, I think, in October. So I'm very excited to see what's coming out of that part of the world for sure. It's a part of the world that's very near and dear to me, of course. So absolutely. And here we have another very generous contribution. And this is so funny. So I have some wonderful people who are very interested in me reading One Piece, and also some others who are recommending Vinland Saga. Oh yeah, there's Joanna talking about Vinland Saga as well. I think I will eventually try some manga. In fact, I can't spill the beans entirely yet, but I will be talking to a booktuber in late August for Dear Dr. Fantasy, who is a well-known manga reader, and specifically One Piece. So I am going to be asking you all about it. So I intend to learn, to prepare myself to eventually read some manga. One Piece, Vinland Saga, and Berserk is the other one that yep, you even have it, AP. You're ahead of me. So, but I'm going to give it a try, because I firmly believe that great storytelling can happen in every medium. So, and I grew up on comic books. They're not the same as manga, I know, but I'm looking forward to giving manga a try. But it probably, I can't. One thing I won't say is that, and I won't promise that I would ever cover manga extensively on my channel, but I do intend to give it a try and talk about my experience at the very least at some point. So absolutely. And thank you, Senf Not Mayo, for the contribution. Very kind of you. AP, you have not, or you have tried manga, right?
Yeah. I find it very, very difficult to read. Because manga is written right to left. Literally, I find that very difficult to read because of so much of... You're trained left to right, top to bottom, and it is ingrained. It is a natural reflex. It's worse than trying to, when you learn to drive on the right-hand side of the road and you go to a country where they drive on the left. You go, that is disorienting and dangerous, and you have to really, really pay attention. And for a process like reading, that I only ever really do it when I have to, when it's for work.
Yeah.
But it's not enjoyable. And people go, oh yeah, but if you keep trying it, you're like, yes, once again, look at the list of things I'm trying to fit into my day.
Yep. Yeah. It's just so intensely. Somebody wants to know if you've read the Olandria novels. I have them downstairs waiting for me to read, actually, but
I haven't read them.
Okay. I have heard about them, have not read them yet. Thank you so much. You guys are so wonderful. Look at this community here. Oh, man.
Oh, pandering to the masses. Look at these beautiful, wonderful people all saying nice things about me. When they turn on you, Philip, that's when you will see your true character.
Oh, I'm glad I have you around, AP. So, okay, yeah, we have another person advocating for, and there's a Vinland Saga. Okay, Mix Garfield. All right. So, Vagabond. Okay, that's a manga, I guess. I haven't heard of that one. That's a manga, I'm assuming. Yeah, so true, Joseph. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to hear a ton of recommendations for manga now, which is good because the ones I repeatedly hear about are One Piece, Vinland Saga, and Berserk. And I think the Vinland Saga is especially because people know that I'm into the Viking stuff, so that would be a good fit probably. But I do want to try a few in order to get a sense of the genre as well. So I think it would only be fair to try a few, right? So, oh, this is so awesome. Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about BookTube, isn't it? That I found a lot of authors that I would not have read. An example, weirdly, being Stephen King. I hadn't read Stephen King before BookTube, and now I'm almost done with the Dark Tower series, and I'm loving it. I think it's just fantastic. I especially love the weirdness of it and how meta it gets, especially toward the end. So I recently declared Song of Susanna to be my favorite in the series, and some people, Alan, couldn't believe it.
Well, if you want an embarrassing confession, I've never read the Dark Tower series.
I know, yeah, I know.
I read the first one and went, okay, I'm not interested in carrying on the series.
Yeah.
And everyone goes, oh, but you must. And you go, no, I don't. I didn't want to. and I'm fine with that. I've read a bunch of other King books, and I read the King stories that he wrote as under the Richard Bachman name.
Like, yeah, I know you've read other King. Yeah. Plenty of other.
So like I've tried it. I don't have any interest at the minute.
Yeah, fair enough.
Maybe eventually I will, but not right now.
I think. I mean, I'm not trying to get you to read it necessarily because I know you're a busy fellow, but I think you would actually. Let's put it this way. I would be curious to hear your reactions to the meta elements that are prominent as the series continues. Let's just put it that way. It would be interesting to hear your reaction to that. And thank you, Jeff, for that. So yeah, I think that I would love to hear you talk about it someday.
And I am sure it is a great series. I'm sure it does really interesting things. But as we both know, even in books that we may personally dislike, because you and I have both had to teach books on a course that you've gone, right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But you can always find elements in a book that is well written or well constructed, or you can find elements that are worth talking about, that are interesting, that are worth discussing with people and are good. There are very few books I have ever read where I have gone, this is absolute trash. In fact, there are no books I have ever read where I have said this is absolute trash, because I would never describe a book that way.
Right. Including the Witcher books, which you've read Witcher here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've read all of them.
Yeah. Okay.
But only in translation, which is to my detriment.
Why you don't read Polish, AP? What's wrong with you?
I have promised myself that once I master the English language, I will try to learn another language.
Slacker. So thank you so much, Rundog. I love your name, by the way, Rundog Valhalla. That is one of the coolest names on YouTube, I think. So. Oh, I can't reveal. I will reveal later, though, as soon as it's official. The person that I was talking about for the Dear Dr. Fantasy episode in late August has agreed to do it. And late August, we don't have a date set, but I will definitely reveal. And I think 7th Not Mail, you'll be happy. So, yeah.
Oh, you tease.
Oh, yeah, that's me. I'm like the best teaser. And don't go anywhere with that one, okay?
Hi, Trip.
There's Trip. Oh my goodness, this is a great question. In some ways, Esme, the truth is I think there's a little bit of me in every character that might make AP laugh a little bit. But I'm
sorry. Before you carry on with your serious answer.
Yeah.
Why are you inserting yourself into other characters?
Oh.
That's a surefire way to get paper cuts.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh, jeez. Okay, now the serious answer. I do think it's every character is a reflection in some weird, twisted way of the author. And I think you have to at least connect to a character in order for the character to feel compelling. At least that's how I function when I write. If I don't feel connected to a character, I have a feeling that my reader won't as well. So I try to. There are characters who are absolutely horrible, repugnant, but I can see
very accurate reflections of Philip.
And very, gosh, walked into another one, didn't I? Yeah. I need to write a character based on Professor Fireballs. That's what I need to do. So, yeah.
What, devilishly handsome, debonair, full of daring do, intelligence and wit, the classic hero.
Exactly what I was thinking, AP. Exactly. How did you know? Thank you, Cyril. Oh, wow. Oh, this is great. Loving all these comments, and I'm probably woefully behind, but so, okay, there's some more.
That's an interesting point, actually, about the Kelly Wan setting that was heavily influenced by, I always forget the name, something like The Pearl Throne by M.A.R. Baker. And when because Feist has a very similar story to, say, Erikson and Esselmont. Started out gaming, and they had a gaming group, and they were doing all of these like sort of D&D, Forgotten Realms, homebrew inspired settings, and they were developing them. And then because of familiarity with the story world, with some of the characters in it, an author then takes that, and it's not that they are sitting and writing down what happened. That forms a blueprint or a sort of rough arc of where things are going. But then they create the novel, and that's obviously what Feist did. It's obviously what Erikson and Esselmont have done. Their recollections of the rough outline of what happened, but they're filling in all of these blanks. And then it turned out that one of the settings that Feist was using, Kelly Wan, which he did not know at the time that he started writing, was essentially lifted from another author. Oh. But it had been because of the homebrew setting where someone had gone, I've just read this great book. There's also an RPG supplement that is using all of these things. I'll throw that into the homebrew thing because Ray's going to love his character going through this area. It'd be really cool. Huh. And we had, the same thing with Erikson and Esselmont, where Erikson spent years saying, like, I've never read Elric. Why does everyone bring up Murkoff's Elric?
Because Esselmont had, yeah.
And then Esselmont went, well, I have all of the books, and I created that, and I put it in the game, and Steve's been trying to defend himself on stealing this idea for years because he's never heard of it, right? And I'm sitting there going, nope, it was me.
That's a funny one. Yeah, that's a really funny one. How many languages? When I speak, I don't know. So I'm, as AP said, I'm also kind of hoping to make my English better and better, but I have dabbled in quite a few. German, French, Spanish, and Welsh, and of course Old English and Old Norse and Latin, which are all dead. And
quite the cunning
Nepali.
linguist.
Nepali is one that I speak but don't read. But I'm not particularly good at any of them, but I can have some great conversations with 4 or 5-year-olds in them. I'm not like Angela, who was on my channel recently, who's fluent in German and French and English and Polish. So, yeah. But AP, what about you? I know you speak some French,
speak English.
Right? Yeah.
I remember when I was at university, there was a dear friend of mine who unfortunately is no longer with us. But he was such a lovely individual. But he would go, we would be speaking obviously in English, and then someone would come by and they'd be speaking in French, and he would answer in fluent French, and then someone else would be speaking in German. He would answer in fluent German.
Wow!
And he was fluent in so many languages, and he had a passion he had a passion for life, but he had a passion for language. And I think in some respects, what I feel about story, why I get so passionate about story and I love all of the different aspects of it, he felt that for languages, and he just took to them like a duck to water. And seeing his enjoyment of them, his enthusiasm for them was almost infectious. And I was sitting there going, I really want to learn that. I want to be like that. And then I was going, which is it? And it's I just had that block of trying to work around things, and it's
Yeah.
people have different things, and I know everyone can learn eventually, like if you put your mind to it.
Yeah.
But it just got to the stage where I wish I had done it when I was younger. Like I speak a tiny bit of German and a little bit of French, and I can read more German than I can speak, and I can read more French than I can speak.
Same here.
Because of familiarity with German and French, I can sometimes read bits and pieces, say, of Spanish. Yeah. Absolutely woeful at Portuguese, cannot understand a single aspect of Portuguese. But, you know, you start with that. And then the more time you spend with it, the more time you immerse yourself in it, it's actually fine. And being on holiday in a foreign country where they're speaking a different language, the first day, absolute nightmare. After a week, you're like, no, I'm following what they were saying.
Yeah. I know. For me too, the best I've ever gotten is when, of course, I've been immersed. So when I was 19, I went to Wales and spent the whole summer there. And by the end of the summer, I was fluent in Welsh. I was speaking it, was dreaming in it, was talking to locals and all that sort of thing. Because I was in an immersion program. We weren't even allowed to speak in English during, the daytime when we were all together. So it was really wonderful. And then, of course, when I've been in Nepal, that's when my Nepali is best, and that sort of thing. So it's being in immersed in it too that really helps. Thank you so much, Richard. Richard Nell, for those of you who don't know, fantastic author. He's absolutely Kings of Paradise was a great read for me, and I want to finish that series, that trilogy. And I know he's Richard. You're writing some new stuff too, I think, if you're still there. That I have to get to as well. So many great books out there.
Because at heart, I am a child. I have never grown up.
Yep. There's a few of us here, actually, who I feel like I'm basically the same that I was when I was like 6,
I've gotten older, but I have never grown up.
Yeah. Same here. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I'll have to ask my wife if that's a good thing.
Well, I think it gives us, it's not about being child. It's that joy in life. Like I've gone through periods of my life where I've been deeply cynical about everything, and that's just depressing. Whereas, you know what, taking a slightly more absurdist view of the world and going, yeah, just go with it. It'll be fine. It can actually make the day a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Spectre. I appreciate it very much. And there's Richard. He's there. Cool. Yeah, Ash and Sand trilogy, brilliant stuff. And the first book is Kings of Paradise. One of the most iconic characters I've ever seen in fantasy is in that book, and you'll know on the first page who I'm talking about. So, so good luck with your writing, Richard. And yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I mean, of course, Dutch is closer to German and English than it is to Danish, but they're all Germanic. They all come from Proto-Germanic in the end. So, oh my goodness, I don't think so. But what do you think, AP? Well, I don't think that's in their nature at all. So,
but it's a setting, like. Unless you just ended the world.
Yeah.
It wasn't a setting that was created as the background to a formed narrative. It was a setting that was created in which narratives have occurred. It's a bit like people could go and write multiple new Middle-earth stories about all of the different time periods in Middle-earth, because the Middle-earth does not end. But
I believe it's called Rings of Power.
Well... Do you want people to turn on you now?
No, let's not go there. Although I'm going to watch the show. In fact, you and I are going to watch the show and probably talk about it. So, yeah,
I'm actually quite excited about it. Like the latest trailer for it showed some absolutely stunning visuals that were highly reminiscent of the style and approach that Jackson took for his adaptation, which I have to admit I'm slightly disappointed by, because
interesting.
I would have preferred them to have their own vision of it rather than creating something that is echoing Jackson's style, particularly because Bakshi's animation of the Lord of the Rings was the first visual adaptation of the Lord of the Rings that I saw.
Yep.
Then I had the Tolkien Beastry when I was a kid that had all of these amazing pieces of artwork in it, and that isn't what Jackson. He used some of those images. There was the Rankin Bass animation, again, very different visual style. Then Jackson comes along with his thing, and everyone goes, "Oh, that's the Lord of the Rings," and you go, "Well, what about these other ones?"
Yeah.
And I think deciding that Jackson's vision in some way is definitive, I think quite hurts the flexibility inherent in imagination.
Though I understand why they did it, because
brand recognition.
Brand recognition, precisely. Thank you so much, Jimmy. It's so great to have you here in the chat. Jimmy's just a fantastic person.
He does booktube the way that it's meant to be done.
Yeah. If you want to see a booktuber who actually like knows what he's doing,
the way that it's ought to be done, isn't that the line?
But yeah, I mean, the guy's the smooth voice, this great persona. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves Jimmy, I think, right? So yeah.
I don't. He's going to be a new nemesis. I think I need another one.
You need another one? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, he'd be a good one, I'm sure. He might be able to bench press 3 or 4 of you, so you got to be careful with that nemesis. But yeah. Thank you so much, Jimmy. It's so great to know you and to be your friend. And we have some more inner children here in the chat, which is beautiful. Love it. Thank you, Daniel. Oh, my marathon and half marathon, personal best. So my best marathon, which I did less of, was 3 hours. And my a little over 3 hours, actually. I was going for under 3, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a little over 3 hours. And then my personal best on a half marathon was 1 hour and just under an hour and a half. So I did beat an hour and a half on the half marathon several times. But yeah, I did more half marathons than marathons. And now I probably, I'm in decent enough shape to play tennis, but I don't know what I would do now if I tried a half marathon, but it wouldn't be an hour and a half. It would probably be more like an hour and 45 minutes, maybe. Certainly under 2. I think I could still do under 2, but yeah, that's that part of my life is over, but I still do love my tennis. Someday I'll have to play tennis with you, AP.
Yeah, sure.
That would be fun. I think we should do a video of that. Let's do it next time we're together.
I have played tennis, I think, twice in my life because my school had these tennis courts, and they'd gotten them resurfaced. They were like, right, you're all going to go out and learn how to play tennis. And we had because there's so many in a class, you had 7 minutes to learn the thing, and then you had to stand there and wait for everyone else to have their go. Yeah. And we did that for a couple of weeks, and then tried to play, and I went, I have no idea what I'm doing, and never learned.
Well, you have an open challenge to play tennis with me next time we get together.
Well, so. if we do that,
yeah.
If we ended up doing that, then what we're going to have to do is we will have to play a computer game against each other.
Oh, that's not even going to be close. Come on.
Would that be because this is something I actually know how to do and you don't?
Maybe. I could start training, though. One of my students
I've seen you try to play Witcher 3. I've completed it and all of the DLC for it. And I've seen you try to walk in a straight line in Witcher 3. I'm fairly confident you could start playing Witcher 3 today, every day for the next 6 months, and I could still kick your ass.
Oh, okay. He just threw down the gauntlet, people. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? AP's threatening to kick my ass. Did you hear that? Although I have to be honest, yeah, you'd kill me in any video game. This is true. And it was AP is referring to pretty disastrous attempt on my part to learn Witcher 3 with the help of my very patient student. It's one of my favorite videos, actually, because it's on my channel. My very patient student, Stephen, was teaching me not just how to play Witcher 3, but all about storytelling in video games, which I have to confess, fairly ignorant about. And it was really very eye-opening for me to realize, oh, wow, here's a medium where there's some really great storytelling taking place. That's something, AP, you could talk about much more with much more authority than I can. But I think it's fair to say there are some great stories happening in video games, right?
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, not Pong. Pong, not really a great narrative computer game.
Pong is the one I know. Wait, you're saying there's no story in that one?
But I think a lot of us are familiar with the choose your own adventure books, right? So before we get into computer games, think about choose your own adventure books.
Yeah.
Jimmy, self-love is very important, just not in public.
Oh no! I'm glad he was the victim of one of those.
But the choose your own adventure books, a lot of them are written where you are the hero. So it's you're meant to imagine, the conceit is that you're putting that in that position and you're choosing where to go. So it's an interactive narrative, and there are branching conditions within the narrative, some of which, you know, just bring you back to the main narrative, and you realize that entire branch, if you map them out, is an entire satellite narrative to the main narrative. Others are going to create entirely new things that will take you to a different resolution, and those will be kernel decisions.
Yeah.
So you get an appreciation of how kernels and satellites work within narrative, but also how interactive narrative works.
Yeah.
And then when you take that from the written medium and you put it in a computer game, you are both for a lot of these things, it's the same pattern of certain decisions will take you on a narrative loop, because it's a side quest that actually has no discernible impact on the central narrative thread that's being developed. But you might get better loot or better equipment or some element. Characters can become fleshed out. Characters, you get little cutscenes. And there are other story threads through it that are developing a main central plot movement. And so you can see how interactivity can create branching conditions. And then when you have a sandbox game where you are essentially creating your own narrative within it, just within a computer generated world, you can create all sorts of narratives. So narrative in computer game, much like narrative in tabletop role-playing games, absolutely fascinating, because there's all of these different aspects to it about interactivity, control of character, generation of character. What is initially apparent as very, very important can over time become far less important, and you realize actually that wasn't important at all. We're now going off in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
And all of these interesting things, because when something like that happens, where you go, oh, it's our quest to get rid of the evil local lord, and then it turns out that lord's not that evil, because really it's all the king's fault. So you go off on that way. And someone could look at that if they were reading it and say, oh, well, that whole first bit was just a waste then. Why didn't you just move directly against the king? And you go, but part of it is the experience. And part of it is seeing how a narrative can reach a point and then develop in a different direction that is flowing.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that it must go A to B to C, full stop.
Right.
That it helps you appreciate the flexibilities within narratives and how different types of connection can be created.
I sense a video on this coming in the future, perhaps on a Critical Dragon, which I would watch for sure. But look at this lovely comment, AP. So this is what makes us happy, I think, when we hear from new and old, but it's so wonderful to hear that, Bob. And I'm so glad that our videos, our discussions could be helpful. It's just, it really is very motivating for us to get comments like that. I have to say, it's just one of the beautiful things when somebody appreciates what we've done and expresses that it's helped them in their reading. So just wonderful to hear that. And that's funny. Oh, and I wanted to get to this, AP. We are being urged to play. Come on. I'll teach you how. I'll give you a tutorial, 5-minute tutorial before we play.
A 5-minute tutorial on how to play tennis.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
do I
that's
get
what
like
Roger
a year?
Federer did. Yeah.
Do I get like a year to get in shape and start training and actually like buy a pair of sneakers?
Well, when is ICFA? Let's see. You have until next March. So. But thank you so much for the wonderful donation. I'm not sure if you pronounce that Corman or Corpsman, but
Corman.
Either way, Corman. I would say.
Wouldn't that be Corman, like the Marine Corps?
Corps, yeah, but it's spelled with a K, so I don't know. Either way, thank you so much. And what else do we have going on here? I caught up with the comments. I think I'm almost there. That is so cool. We have a nice thing going on here between the Danes and the Dutch in the comments. So swamp Germans, I love it.
But the true measure of society is, do you put ketchup on fries or do you put mayonnaise?
Indeed.
Or salt and vinegar.
Ooh, salt and vinegar. Yeah. If you're being really sophisticated. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Jimmy and Alan had their chatting with nuts last night. And you were there in the chat at like 2 a.m. your time, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I was greatly enjoying it. But one of the reasons why I was up that late, we're having a heat wave. And because, let me put it this way. Northern Ireland would typically have maybe like 4 hot days a year. Because of that, no building is designed to radiate and get rid of heat. No building is really designed to have air conditioning because you'd only need it 4 days a year. And all you have to do is open the window and it's fine. We're having a heat wave. I was lying in bed going, someone just killed me. And so I couldn't sleep. It was so hot. So I went, I'll go and say, oh, look, I'm awake in time for chatting with nuts. And so I got to sit up and see it for a while.
It was a good conversation. I was there for 2 hours. And then I had to go get ahead of you in the Crippled God. So,
so not enough that you threw a book in my way that I would trip over.
Yes.
But you also went, aha, he's logged into something else. And now I will sneak away.
Exactly. There's no end to my nefarious schemes. So, yeah.
I think people are finally realizing that you are, in fact, the nefarious Dr. Fantasy. People, you have this facade. Oh, I'm professorial. Look at my neatly trimmed beard and my glasses and my tweed. And aren't I so nice? And then secretly you knife people in the back. You trip them up. You're elbowed to their face. Evil.
Oh, dear. Well, AP, I think it's fairly easy to tell who in this nemesis hood is the good guy. So...
Exactly, me.
Is this one of those narratives where there's a twist? Yeah.
Well, hang on a second. Let's see if I can get this to work. If we, hang on.
Oh no, you have another one?
No, but yeah, there we go. This is my evil twin because it should have mirrored my camera, so it's like the reverse of me.
Oh, it didn't work, I think. But do I have to do something?
No, it's okay. But you can. Let's face it, Philip.
Yeah.
I'm just a country boy.
Oh, yes.
From a little tiny part of the world, trying to make my way in the world.
You're like
Frodo
Baggins.
A cultural imperialist, stomping around, destroying people.
You're like an Irish Frodo Baggins.
Well, if we're going to make halfling jokes, Philip, do we really want to start bringing up height?
Oh, here we go again. Oh, okay, yes. So AP is just a little bit taller than I am. Just a little bit. Like as in 3 inches, maybe. So, yeah. And no inch jokes from you, mister. All right.
I think we've had the quota of those so far.
Oh yeah, I think so for the year.
Potentially demonetizing your channel with my rudeness.
Oh, I think we're safe. Here's a question. Fantasy book recs that aren't in a medieval setting. Oh goodness, yeah. I mean, tons. Of course, we could say Malazan, which is not medieval. Yeah, I love Broken Earth Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, not medieval. What else? What comes to the top of your head, AP?
Well, it depends. Do you mean like a Eurocentric medieval setting? Because if you're going to do it as medieval as the time period,
right.
well, what do you mean? Late medieval, early medieval, Iron Age, Dark Age? You have, but even things that are set in Greco-Roman sort of classical antiquarian style thing. So you have any of the Greek.
And of course, there's urban fantasy. Yeah. Yeah, what else have I read lately that I could? Oh, I love Susanna Clark's stuff too. That's definitely not medieval. Whether it's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell or Piranesi, not medieval.
There's a lot of the Napoleonic stuff. So anything that is flintlock fantasy quite often has a Napoleonic feel to it. So there was, is it Brian McClellan had Trilogy, the Powder Mage?
The gunpowder, fantasy or whatever. Yeah. Alan is always going on about that stuff. Yeah.
So like flintlock fantasy is quite interesting. But even like Robin Hobb's, is it Soldier Son trilogy? Is very different. But the entire realm of the Elderlings, like how much of that is medieval? It's certainly not Eurocentric to the same extent that, say, Tolkien appears to be. But it has a different sensibility, even though, the Six Duchies would feel Eurocentric, medieval-esque. But Bingtown and Chalice and those sorts of areas of the map and how they interact with it are quite different. Raymond E. Feist's work with Johnny Wirtz, the Daughter of the Empire trilogy, because the setting is that kind of exotic and not, partially orientalized East. It certainly isn't Eurocentric in feel. And the centering of the story, the focalization of the story of Mara, gives it a very different dimension and feel.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, to answer your question, Severian, I loved Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I read it long before I started the channel, though. Eventually, I will reread that and probably will go on to read more Tad Williams at some point or other. But yeah, it's on my radar. AP, you've read Tad Williams, of course.
Yeah, I can't remember it.
Oh, Memory. That's ironic. Memory. Sorry.
Yeah, I read it late teens. In my late teens, I started reading some of the Tad Williams stuff, and therefore I haven't read a lot of the more recent stuff. But that was the last time I read Tad Williams.
Wow. Okay. That is
been a while.
Yeah, that's the thing. You read these wonderful books and you remember the impact they had on you, but after 20 years, it's kind of like, what was the character's name?
I can remember the cover. There's a guy standing on a staircase holding a torch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you are definitely Pippin, AP. Mary is the smart one, so that's entirely appropriate. Thank you, Josh. Urban fantasy, Dresden, of course.
Well, you have Dresden, you have Kevin Hearn, more paranormal romance. You'd have the Sookie Stackhouse books by Charlene Harris.
Anything by Neil Gaiman too. Neil Gaiman, he doesn't do medieval, and some brilliant fantasy there. Yeah.
Oh, it's not Max Gladstone. Fantastic, very different series. Very different sensibility, and obviously it appealed to me because of the legal aspect to magic in it. And they are different, and people going into it expecting, it's going to be like X. He's writing his own style of fantasy. They are fulfilling, they are well written, they are fascinating. So yeah, I read them. Cool. I have read.
I have to ask you, Benjamin, does the name change there? Books with Genghis Khan. That's a great name. Does that mean you started a channel, man? Did he start a channel? I don't know. You have to answer that in the chat. But the craft sequence there on your shelves, AP.
Yeah, I mean, one of the books that I try to, well, I'm not sure if I would recommend it. It's one of the ones I really enjoy that doesn't really get talked about are the Baruch Cormorant books by Seth Dickinson, which I think are really, really good.
Oh yeah, poor Texas. Yeah, my goodness, that's unbelievable. Yeah, New Jersey's we're in the 80s, and I'm feeling of course it's very humid here too. But yeah, Dark Tower. Yeah, it's a good one. It's definitely not medieval. It's everything else, but it's mostly not medieval. Yeah.
Well, just so you know, today in London, currently it is 82 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
In London,
which is unusual. Yeah.
Look at a map and see how far north the UK is.
Oh, it's way far north. Yeah. Hobb, when are we getting to Hobb, AP? The priority is Janny Wirtz after we finish Malazan, which we're finishing up soon. But the priority is Janny Wirtz, and I think Gemmel probably before we get to Hobb. But maybe I would say definitely this year, wouldn't you? At least to start, and we're going to start at the beginning with Farseer.
Yeah. And while the plan is to do one Janny Wirtz book a month, which I think, for us is eminently doable to fit in with everything else.
Yeah.
I would also be planning on reading other books at the same time. I'm not reading one book a month.
Right. Yeah. Can't do that.
I would have other books. So we may do Hobb, we may do other things. It just depends. But it's trying to pick one big series to do. And that was why I wanted to do Janny Wirtz. A lot of other people have quite rightly been talking about Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings, and people should, and they should enjoy it.
Yep.
But there were far fewer people talking about Janny Wirtz's books. And I went, well, this is the series that I want to talk about because fewer people are talking about it.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to both very much. I've read the first two trilogies already in Realm of the Elderlings. And I think it's ideal the way we're approaching it, at least for me, which is to say, we're not going to go straight through the Realm of the Elderlings. We're going to do a trilogy maybe and then skip a couple months, do something else, and then go back to Realm of the Elderlings. And it probably will take us a couple of years at least to get through it all that way. But, that's fine. For us,
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not either. So, and here is our buddy. Oh, Niflrog, thank you so much. It is so awesome to see you here. One of the most brilliant Malaz tubers in the universe. So, if not the most brilliant.
And obviously of the Dublin Niflrogs.
Yeah. So, so great to have you here. You want to, if you people who have, mostly it's spoilers though. So for those of you who have finished the Malaz Book of the Fallen, at least, he doesn't have a ton of videos, but every single one of them is brilliant. So check them out. And Rivers, I have not. Have you, AP?
Yeah, there's a really fascinating thing. I don't know how much you would know about UK TV, but there was a TV show in the UK called The Bill about the everyday police in the UK. And when you think of a police show that is set in the States, there are chase sequences and people sliding over the top of cars, and it's sort of action and high drama, and there's all of these, there's this serial killer, and we're going to chase them down, high drama, high action. The Bill was all like, oh, those kids down the road, they've been putting graffiti on things, and it's the cops are going down to deal with it. And so it was like a very British approach to the police, which is much lower stakes and much more grounded in the actual experience of everyday policing. And so it was a police serial. So the reason I'm pointing this out is the Dresden Files is urban fantasy American style, with all of this explosion and this fight and it's all exciting. And yet Ben Aronovich managed to create a very urban fantasy, setting it in London, and it was just like, it's like the Bill version of urban fantasy in London. The characters are exceptionally well created. there's a lot of reference to historical aspects of the mythologies and legends of London and of Great Britain. Really interesting series, and just goes about it in. It has a slightly different ethos and feel to it than, say, the Dresden Files.
Interesting. You made me think also of A Darker Shade of Magic, which is set in various Londons of a sort. But
because there's only one city in the whole of the UK, and of course it's London.
Right. That's the only city you've got, right? Oh, dear. All right. So who else do we have here? Here is Derry again. Oh, Derry is the absolute, go-to place for all you Hobb lovers out there. Also Discworld. And I can announce as well that Derry is going to be on an episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy, and I'm so excited for that. So we actually have a day scheduled for that, and it is going to be a ton of fun. And you can believe I'm going to be asking her about Robin Hobb and Discworld, both series I need to get more into. I know, AP, you read a lot of Discworld back in the day, right?
I think I've read all of them up to, it was Monstrous Regiment may have been the last one I read, or like Making Money, or much later on in the series. And then I didn't read as many of them anymore. But I certainly got quite far through Pratchett's body of work.
Yeah, they're great. I need to read more of them. I hope you feel better, Jason. I hope you're not getting those symptoms too bad. It isn't a bad day at all in New Jersey for summer. So
isn't a good day either because it's New Jersey.
I happen to live in a very beautiful part of New Jersey, actually.
And you know what? I like New Jersey. I've actually been there.
You've been to New Jersey, haven't you? Yeah. Another fan of Hobb here. In fact, Josh just had a wonderful video about Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings, and she, I believe, is his favorite as well, or favorite fantasy author.
It's weird. I've read Robin Hobb books. I don't think I've ever read any of her Megan Lindholm books.
I haven't either. Yeah. I haven't seen them reviewed either on BookTube. So
I kept meaning to, and then for some reason just never got around to it.
Interesting. Yeah, of course, eventually. That's the one I was referring to. That's Josh's Tawny Man trilogy review. Robin Hobb has definitely touched a lot of people on BookTube.
And again, she is one of those authors that just by looking at her writing, you know how in command she is on a word and sentence level. And that level of writing, regardless of the style that an author is using, when an author has that ability that you can look at a single sentence and realize that every word in it is the perfect word for that sentence. And it's not just being used to describe, there were rocks on the ground, but that all of the words in the sentence fall in the correct order, are done the right way. You go, that is an author that is worth reading for me.
Yeah, 100% agree. Okay, so Niflrog, I wish you the very best with your thesis, and not just because I like you, but because I'm selfish and I want you to make more videos. So,
best of luck, Niflrog.
Yeah.
Although I don't think he's going to need luck.
I don't think so either. In fact, I'm very curious about what his thesis is on. I'm sure something that I cannot comprehend, but.
Yeah, he's one of those annoying people who, is an expert in all of this other stuff and then comes in and gives expert opinions on literature. And I go, that's not fair being an expert in multiple things.
Oh, so this person earlier had asked about big fantasy series. I wanted to see if we could, here we go. Big and satisfying series. Any recommendations? Of course, we're going to say Malazan, but I think I'm really looking forward to Jenny Wirtz's Wars of Light and Shadow. If you haven't read that yet, I think that's going to fit the bill. AP, what springs to your mind?
Realm of the Elderlings is obviously not only, well, it's a complete series. Robin Hobb is a brilliant, amazing, powerful author. And also the series illustrates different styles. So, and it's broken up into smaller sections. So trilogy, quartet, that there are different bits and pieces of it that allows you to make it more manageable. You're not going, oh, it's a series that runs on and on forever. And that, I think, is very good for the modern day. So Robin Hobb is certainly someone I would recommend hands down. Obviously, we both are huge fans of the Malazan work. In terms of series, Remedy Feist, it depends on what you want from a series, but Remedy Feist Rift War. I certainly, when I was younger, greatly enjoyed them up to a point. And then they became exemplars of a type of fantasy that I didn't find as enjoyable anymore. That, that's just the way that it went. But my favorite of those had to be the trilogy that he co-wrote with Johnny Wirtz, which was the Empire trilogy, which fits into that whole cycle, but it can also be read almost as a standalone trilogy in its own right. The Discworld as a huge, satisfying, exceptionally clever, very pointed and poignant in places, and wonderfully humorous. Like the Discworld series is stunning and unparalleled. So Terry Pratchett. There's also Gemmel's Draenei books, and it's the Draenei books sort of bled into other sort of mini series and say, if you like Gemmel's writing, there are a lot of the Gemmel books that you can read because he fits, he writes to a certain type, and I think you could actually look at a lot of Gemmel's writing as all big sort of part and parcel of the same series. So if you like that style of fantasy, I think Gemmel works.
Look who else is here, AP. And of course, how can he not mention Bocalane and Corbel Broach? It's Ruth and Bad. Thank you so much, Ruth and Bad. And AP's evil twin does look a bit like him, but we know for a fact that you are, in fact, a twin, and there is no question who the evil one is, right? So...
And you can't trust a word that Ruthen says apart from when he says to trust him, in which case you must trust what he says.
Oh, yes. And thank you. Go ahead.
In terms of fantasy series, Glenn Cook's Black Company. And, and then obviously the Dread Empire, which is a different series. Like they're interesting. If you like more Tolkien-inspired stuff, Terry Brooks' Shannara books, but again, they eventually go off in their own direction. Wheel of Time obviously is hugely popular, and Jordan takes that from a Tolkien-esque starting point. He moves eventually to somewhere slightly different, and those are much more traditional.
Wheel of Time and Shannara both start out very, very reminiscent of Lord of the Rings, but then both go in their own directions.
But also, I mean, depends if you like classic fantasy, like Fritz Lieber and the Fafhrd and Gren Meiser stories, the Conan stories by Robert E. Howard. It depends. And then if you count trilogies as series, we start getting into AP's just going to start listing books.
Yep. Which he has read a few of. So, hey, Chaz, good to see you here. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Zelazny's Amber, should have mentioned that. That's another, again, classic fantasy series that a lot of people don't talk about and should.
Thank you, Layla. Absolutely, thank you. Layla is one of the persons that I've been talking to on Steve's channel, Steve Talks Books, who's reading the Malazan series, and she's also a professor. And it's so wonderful to hear their thoughts as they're going through the series. Just fantastic. I think they're on the 4th book now on House of Chains. So I hope that's going well, and it's lovely to see you here, Layla. Same here, Derry. Absolutely. And we've got some. That's interesting. I wonder how that would be to listen to Discworld.
But it'd be like listening to Douglas Adams and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is one of the most contradictory intentionally contradictory series out there. That things just changed because Douglas Adams went, yeah, whatever, and he just wrote the book that he wanted. But started out as radio play, got turned into a novel, and then there was the BBC TV show and a different radio play, and it's this confused mess of wonderfulness, but absurd. And some writing, I think, works really, really well as audio because of the style of writing that the author is using. Other writing, while you can certainly listen to the audiobook version, it doesn't translate as well. It doesn't adapt as well to the audio medium because the author wasn't writing in that way. And I think you have to work a bit harder as a listener then to get what the author was doing.
Thank you, Angela. It's so lovely to have you here. And it was so wonderful to have you on Dear Dr. Fantasy recently. So
have fun at the street party.
Have fun at the party. And Paul is asking, what is Shadows of the App? Do you know what that is, Adrian?
That's Adrian Tchaikovsky.
Ah, okay.
And
yes,
yeah. I think I read the first 3 or first 4 books.
Okay.
And then I never got back to them because I was, again, I read them when they were coming out.
I think Alan is big on those. Alan.
And weirdly enough, I had an issue with the world building. Entirely my own issue, not a problem with the writing. I didn't react well to a conceit within the world building. And because of that, I was reading against what Tchaikovsky was trying to do in the narrative. I was constantly feeling frustrated because I didn't suspend my disbelief in relation to one aspect of the world building, and it kept tripping me up. So I thought I'd pause it and I would go back to it at another point, and I just haven't gotten to it yet.
That's well said about Terry Pratchett, Farhad. And Seth has read Shadows of the Apt. And guess who we have here? None other than Iskar Jarek himself. Thank you so much, Iskar. It's so great to see you here. I appreciate it. He's somebody that one of the first persons I came to know and be in a discussion with on BookTube. And thank you. And I just can't believe how he's such a model of generosity and community building, and somebody who's encouraged a lot of people on this platform. So just I am grateful, and I'm sure many other people are grateful for Iskar's wonderful influence around here. And it was a pleasure, too, to have you on Dear Dr. Fantasy, Iskar, and to get a chance to reconnect. So, and they're having this great tournament on Ruth and Bad and Iskar Jarek are running this tournament. I've been voting. Mostly we're in the stage of the tournament where it's pretty predictable who's going to win, but it's starting to get a little more exciting. So it's a Malazan tournament for all of you who don't know, where they're basically it's a bracket style tournament. And AP, have you been voting? Have you been paying attention to that? Okay, good.
I've been voting for the correct people every time.
So far, I don't think there's been anything terribly controversial. There've been a couple that were a little closer than they should have been, in my opinion. But
well, see, I never end. I to be honest, I'm really bad at checking what the results were. As soon as I see it come up on the feed, I vote. So there's usually only 1 or 2 votes in, so it looks quite often it looks wild, and then you go, oh, the votes later on that may have changed.
Later on, it gets sort of corrected by the group. But yeah, loads of fun happening there, and they're doing Ruth and Bad and Iskar Jarek are on Spotify, I think, doing a kind of recap of everything as they go along. So that's bound to be a ton of fun. So, okay. Yes, we've got some great Malaztube representation. The cipher of Malaztube himself and the father of Malaztube. That would be Ruth and Bad and Iskar Jarek. Oh, yeah, another recommendation for a long series. Yeah, good one, Eric.
Donaldson's Thomas Common. Yeah, again, more of a classic work now. So going into it, you would have to expect a different style. It's a bit like saying to someone, oh, you should go and read The Lord of the Rings. And they start reading it and go, what is this? You go, it's written in a different style to what we expect with a lot of modern writing, because prose styles change over time.
Yeah. And Catherine Kurtz's, yeah, okay, cool. I have not read those, but I was interested to see that Mark Lawrence also compared my writing to Catherine Kurtz's writing. So I was like, wow, okay, I got to check out this author. AP, have you read Catherine Kurtz yet? Very Celtic inspired, I've heard.
I have definitely read at least one. I haven't read
Okay.
a lot of the work.
I'm going to, because my books were compared by Mark Lawrence to
well, I went through a stage of sampling, basically getting a book one, and it could have been book one of the second trilogy, but I went and got a lot of example books from different authors, and I sat and I read a whole bunch to go, okay, I like this one, I'll get more by that author. I like this one, I'll get more by that author. Yeah. Not really in the mood for that, and that went on that path. Catherine Kurtz went on I must get back around to this at some point, and haven't yet.
Yeah, okay. But I have heard they're very Celtic inspired, at least this series. So, and of course, Tad Williams. Yes. Yeah, good call there. So, yeah. All right. And, oh, oh dear. And Ruth and Bad is being politically correct as usual. Thank you, Ruth and Bad. We can rely on you for that. He left a comment on my channel the other day that YouTube decided was a bit too racy and deleted his comment. I don't know if he realized that it was YouTube and not me that deleted his comment, but I got such a chuckle out of it anyway.
I know, that has that been happening? It went through a spit where loads of my comments just started disappearing. Yeah. And every once in a while now, I get a notification there's a comment. I go to click on it and there's no comment. And I've checked the filter. I've checked to see if it was held back. No, it's just not there. And sometimes it must sometimes be the person has gone, no, I'm deleting
sometimes a person withdraws a comment. But yeah, and yeah, I don't know. It's been less finicky lately, though. I feel like there was a period there when loads of perfectly legitimate comments were just randomly disappearing. It was very frustrating. But I feel like that's over with. I think YouTube legitimately deleted Ruth and Bad's comment.
He does have a very strong persona that he projects that is not necessarily representative of who he is in reality. It is a character. And he plays up to that quite a lot.
Quite well, actually. So I'm so happy to hear, Iskar, that you got the other Abercrombie books. I believe it was the standalones you were missing, I think, when we were having our conversation. So good job. Good on you. And I think you're going to love them. And the David Keck series behind you, AP.
Dark medieval fantasy. David Keck, another Canadian author.
Lots of these talented Canadians out there.
Again, they have nothing to do in the winter apart from play ice hockey. So it's either ice hockey or write.
Those are your two choices. So it's probable that if they play hockey, they're not good writers. We can predict that, maybe.
So,
yeah, sweet.
Dark medieval with a dark sort of very dark fairy tale aspect to it, but that dark historically medieval rather than look, it's Gondor. No, it's look, it's actually medieval Europe kind of feel to it.
Cool. Yeah, I don't believe AP has read much at all of the Berserk because of the right to left issue.
It drives me nuts. It really is quite difficult.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, J Rogue 6. Here's another recommendation from Mr. Paul Van Doleward. I said it correctly because I'm being nice to Paul today.
You're being nice to him today, but you're mean to him all the other times. The evil, nefarious Dr. Fantasy revealed once again.
Once again. Terrible. Terrible me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I already saw that one. Okay. Good that you just stopped by, though. Thank you. Oh, somebody has a better beard than mine. Okay. I gotta read his book just for that.
He also, Adrian Tchaikovsky also has, was it Children of Time? He has a bunch of science fiction novels as well. He's a very prolific author and a very good writer.
Cool. So many. I mean, like we said in the beginning, we're never going to get to all of them, unfortunately. So.
Well, he's lucky he didn't hear it.
Da-da-da. Wow.
In joke for the Malazan crowd there.
So this came up earlier. Yes, you've read Prince of Nothing.
Yeah. I read the first trilogy. I haven't read the subsequent 4 books.
Yeah. So you've read
but I read the first trilogy.
Yeah.
Baker, in some respects, I think it's heavily inspired by Dune. There are aspects, people who liked the Malazan Book of the Fallen will like it as well. Very dark, like very dark world at times.
Yeah.
Very intelligent. Again, it'll be one of it. We keep going back to authors that I go, yeah, they can write really well. Baker can write.
Yeah.
It's the prose on the page communicates far more than describing what is happening. That's a key aspect. There's a lot of philosophy in it, and the literalization of philosophical and religious aspects that we see, this sort of literalization into the world to investigate them. So it's a very smart series, but it is dark. It is not one of those ones you go, oh, it's a nice, happy summer's day. I'm going to read something lighthearted. I'll sit down with R. Scott Baker. You're like, you do you, but that's not how I would approach it.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet.
Excellent books.
I haven't read it yet. I'm looking forward to it, but I have the feeling it lacks some of the humor in Malazan that is a relief from a lot of those darker moments, or the sense of connection that you get in Malazan, which for me, you don't end Malazan feeling alienated and alone. You end it feeling a sort of transcendent sense of connection. And I get the impression that I'm not going to feel a transcendent sense of connection when I finish The Darkness That Comes Before.
But Baker wasn't trying to do it. Like, he is writing for a very different purpose, to explore a different aspect and explore it in a different way. And
yeah,
you know, it's a bit like when we say, oh, we love seeing like elements of humor in Malazan, and allows it, and that's tied into what Erickson was exploring, or Esselmont was exploring, that they are using that technique. But if you're going for a different feeling, if you're going for a different atmosphere, then that would make it tonally dissonant. So
yeah, I suppose. Here's a response about the audiobooks for Discworld, which I haven't listened to, but I try.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But one of the great things about Discworld is, I think it's almost impossible to have a bad audio performance of Discworld, because the writing is so good that even an automated screen reader, you could listen to an automated screen reader go through Terry Pratchett's Discworld and still have laugh out loud moments, because Sir Terry Pratchett was a genius in creating these things, and again uses humor like a scalpel, using humor in a completely different way. It's not to mask the social commentary he's making, or the points that he is scoring. It's turning humor sometimes into this wicked barb that slides into you before you realize it's there. Like, Pratchett is just brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Gautam. And I'm just trying to get through all these wonderful comments as fast as I can. I haven't read that. Have you, AP?
No, I haven't read that.
Okay, cool. And there's Jess. Thank you so much, Jess. And whoops. Okay, so there's Ruth and Bad.
Ruth and Bad cancelled by YouTube, confirmed.
Yeah. Oh dear. Let's see. Oh, here's a question. Yeah, I think so, because even when I was young and I read The Sword of Shannara, I felt like this is Tolkien, obviously. I mean, it's just, okay, you change the names of the characters, but they're very recognizably, there's the Gimli character, there's the Legolas character, there's the Aragorn character. I felt like it was, even as a kid, I felt like this is incredibly close to Lord of the Rings. Now I've heard that the later Shannara books do their own thing, that he does later on go his own direction, but obviously, you can knock it for being derivative, but obviously Terry Brooks is tremendously successful, and what he did, as worked, because people were looking for more of something like Tolkien, so you say what you like, but it was probably a very smart strategy on his part to start out that way.
But also, some people want variations on a theme. And people want that feeling they got from reading The Lord of the Rings, but they didn't want to reread The Lord of the Rings. And they go, I want that same story, but slightly different. And that's what Terry Brooks did. It's what Robert Jordan did. Like, okay, you go, they are both, if we're going to be very nice about it, like heavily inspired by Tolkien.
Yeah.
And you go, right, fine. Do people enjoy it? Yeah, then let people enjoy it. And both authors, both Brooks and Jordan, take their series in different directions. They don't copy Tolkien beat for beat all the way through.
No.
It is the soft introduction to ease you into something before they go exploring it in other ways. Yeah. And again, a lot of people today place very heavy emphasis on originality and, this is just Tolkien.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, both authors admitted it. It's not like they're hiding it.
Yeah,
it's not
something you can hide. Yeah,
they're going, I've never heard of J.R. Tolkien. Who is this person of which you speak? This was an entirely original idea that I came up with while I was in the bath. Neither author has done that.
Right.
They admit that they admired Tolkien. That spurred them on to write their own version. So they start in the same place and they go somewhere different.
Yeah.
So is it a criticism? Well, yeah, but is it fair? It's undeniable. Is it something to go, well, these authors can't write? Well, that's an entirely different thing and has nothing to do with the fact that they have a lot of inspiration and influence and copying from Tolkien.
Yep. You've read Weiss and Hickman, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Deathgate cycle is very, very different to the Dragonlance books. A lot of people are very, very familiar with the Dragonlance books. The Deathgate cycle blew me away when I was a kid because it just was so random and out there and change and different. It was the Deathgate cycle. It's different. And I really need to go back and reread it because I think I read it when I was about like 14 or so.
Oh.
And I haven't reread it.
I have not read Nightfall. Have you?
No.
Okay.
I read a bunch of Asimov, but I always forget which Asimov I read. Like all of the different robot stories and Foundation and a bunch of other things. But
Josh just read it. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm excited for Gemmel too. Absolutely. I feel like that's one that I'm going to enjoy based on what everybody said. And AP, Gemmel was big for you when you were younger, right? Yeah.
Right up there with when I was reading the Forgotten Realms books, the Dragonlance books. There was Gemmel, there was David Eddings. I'm trying to think of some of the others that I read at that time. Melanie Ron. Actually, a lot of what happened was I was looking through, say, who was writing in Dragonlance or who was writing in Forgotten Realms, because they have a lot of different authors wrote within those story worlds. And then finding other books by them, like Christy Golden and people like that I went and found other books by those authors who had written, a short story for a collection and went and found their own series that they had written. Yeah.
I have read one book by Harry Turtledove, historical fiction, a long time ago. Have you read any Harry Turtledove, AP?
And again, the name is incredibly familiar, so I'm going, I must have read something.
I read one, and I can't remember the title. It was so long ago, but it's historical fiction. I think that's all he does, right? Harry Turtledove is a historical fiction author. Gosh, I wish I could remember the name of the book, but that's the thing we were talking about. After 30 years, you forget all these things. But oh well.
Apparently, he wrote as Eric Iverson, and he wrote a series of. I don't recognize those. I'm trying to see. Yeah, it must have been something in the Vidisos, the Byzantine stuff.
Okay.
I read something in there, and I can't remember what it was.
Interesting. Yeah, if he did anything medieval, that's probably what I read, but who knows. But Troll Sangar, thank you so much. Great to see you here. And here's a Baker comment. A sheep joke. Okay, well, that'll liven it up, I'm sure. Oh, and there's Jay. Hello, Jay. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Oh, yeah, the TD. Yeah, this is something you've been thinking about a lot lately is adaptations. You've been on your channel, got some great videos about adaptations. So I haven't seen the Pratchett one, but I have only heard negative things from Discworld fans.
Right. For a start, there isn't only one Terry Pratchett adaptation on TV because
The
they
most
did.
recent one, maybe? Yeah.
Well, the latest one, which was based, inspired by and based on The Watch, and they did a TV show based on The Watch, and it was a departure in a lot of respects from The Watch in the books. So it wasn't an attempt to be faithful to any of the storylines from the books, or it was a completely different thing. And a lot of Pratchett fans reacted very negatively to it. And, fair enough. But they also did like the Hogfather Christmas special, which was a number of years ago. And there were a bunch of ones that they did, usually as sort of like a Christmas special or something. And I think that was on ITV maybe. But there have been a bunch of Pratchett adaptations. And I think there's a couple of different Pratchett plays that people adapted as well, that you could do a theater play, was adapted from some of his stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, I was in a production of The Hobbit when I was in high school as a play.
Well, understandably, given your height.
Ooh. I played an elf, okay? I was an elf. Jeez. So
did you have a box to stand on?
Very funny. Very funny, mister. That tennis video is going to completely show the world the truth, okay? Ben is asking about the Marlon James Dark Star trilogy. I actually do want to read it. I've been hearing about it, and I'm very intrigued, and I think I will be buying it with the hope of reading it probably next year. I have so many things I want to get to, like Gene Wolfe's. Absolutely, yeah. Book of the New Sun is, I think, something I might get to toward the end of this year if things go well. If not, beginning of next year.
Book of the New Sun, we were meant to do it, basically to fit it in with when we were doing other things, and then I had a bad start to the year, and then was very sick, and it threw everything off. But Gene Wolfe, again. Sometimes people talk about like an author's author. Gene Wolfe is both an author's author as well as a reader's author. Yeah. Absolute stunning command of the English language, the prose on his page. The use and abuse of limited subjective perspective that Gene Wolfe employs is fantastic. And he's so creative. And again, you sometimes read a Gene Wolfe story, and it's a bit like Samuel R. Delany, in that you think you've got it, and then you think about it later on and go, oh, and then you go back and you can read and reread Gene Wolfe and Samuel R. Delany books over and over again and get more from them every time. I love authors like that. But Gene Wolfe, fantastic author, well worth reading.
Yeah, we will cover Gene Wolfe at some point. It's just can't pin down exactly when, but late this year, perhaps early next year. Thank you so much, Joanna. You are a wonderful, wonderful presence here on BookTube. If you're gone, perhaps you'll hear this.
Now you say that instead of calling her an elvish assassin.
Well, she is that too. So, watch out. Don't turn your back because there might be a crocodile. Oh no, sorry, an alligator. They're the same thing, right? Okay, no, they're not. But an alligator, you might get smacked on the head with an alligator. And who else do we have here? So I'm just trying to catch up here. I think it's a hopeless quest, but unless I just skip a bunch. But thank you so much, everybody. Yeah, we're getting close to 16K. Actually, that might happen soon. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Oh, humble brag in there.
Oh, and here's Matt. Okay, from Hobbit Hole Books. Does some wonderful stuff over on his channel is very funny. Okay, so we do have, like you were saying, AP, Darius confirming. I should have been Gandalf, right? I was overlooked for the part, Anthony, because I was only a freshman, and they gave the nice parts to like the seniors and stuff. So I had to be like an elf that captured one of the elves. I was a nameless elf. I did play a hobbit lad.
Oh, hang on a second. Were you elf guard number 3?
Exactly. Yeah. Elf guard number 3 and hobbit lad.
A pivotal role.
The whole story hinged on that moment, on that very moment. And if I had messed up my line, which was, I don't remember my line. I forgot my line. Oh no. I had a line. So, yeah. Anyway. So, oh dear. Yay for Gene Wolfe. Yep, I know. Yeah, there's some serious Gene Wolfe fans out there, and we're going to have some good content on that.
Right. Never be embarrassed about not liking or not getting into an author.
That's okay. Not a problem.
We all have preferences. We all have things that we love, and we love them for different reasons. Books speak to us and resonate with us in different ways.
This is a no judgment zone here. We don't judge you.
But it's like people who go, oh, you must read James Joyce Ulysses. And if you don't understand it and don't enjoy it, then there's something wrong with you.
There's something wrong with 99% of people then, I guess.
And you just go, but why? Like, I read it. It's not my favorite because I prefer, fantasy rather than anything else. But
Mike is a fan of Gene Wolfe, obviously. He does science fiction over on his channel, Fit to Be Read. Great place for science fiction, everybody. Thank you so much, Kurt, and I appreciate you. And Beth, thank you so much. Gandalf and tweed, you bet. Gandalf was meant to wear tweed, Gandalf the Gray tweed. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I wasn't a tree. That's true. Oh, here you go, AP. I think you'd be a great Tom Bombadil.
Really?
You do sing. I have heard you sing on your channel before.
Oh,
that was one of the best videos ever.
Well, given how you talk about me, I'm surprised Denethor wasn't suggested as the character I should be in the Lord of the Rings.
Well, he's not in The Hobbit, so yeah. Of course, neither was Tom Bombadil, but you would be perfect. Oh yeah. Oh dear. Well, my days of being in plays back in high school. Loads of memories there, I tell you. Okay. Here's Eric on Gene Wolfe.
Well, and that's the other point. Never be embarrassed if you don't enjoy an author, you can't get into an author. Like, there's no embarrassment there. But also, when people go, oh, that book is so difficult, or oh, you go, that's rubbish. That's how they felt about it. It will never speak to how the book is going to appear to you.
Yeah.
And so don't pay attention to people who say, oh, this book is difficult, or this book is complicated, or you really just read it. If you like it, you like it, you get into it. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Like,
yep. And we hear that a lot. We hear it a lot about Malazan, don't we? People who say, oh, I'm not smart enough, or, I feel dumb, or it's not about being smart. It really isn't. It's not smart or dumb or anything else. It's really more about, in the case of Malazan, I think it's about expectations. And we come to fantasy, a lot of us, with loads of expectations about how fantasy narrative works. And when somebody like Steven Erikson comes along and plays around with that, sometimes we feel a little bit lost because it's not going the way it's supposed to go. So there's nothing wrong with you. And I think part of it is just learning to enjoy or learning to embrace that challenge and have yourself, your ideas maybe be expanded.
And to Derry's point there, when I first started Assassin's Apprentice, what was the first one? The first
Assassin's
Hobb book.
Apprentice. Assassin's Apprentice. Yeah.
I I would have told you before starting that there are maybe like 2 first-person narratives that I've enjoyed reading. I do not. That is not my default. Oh, look, it's in first-person narrative. I'm so excited. It is always a struggle for me to get used to it. But now there are a bunch of first-person narratives that I've now enjoyed. But I would still default to third-person narration is my favorite, and the style I am most comfortable reading. So that's it. It took me a while to ease into Hobb's style.
Yep, that's fair. That's what Spectre is saying too here about Tolkien. I mean, totally fair. And my second read of the Malazan Book of the Fallen, the first read was very impactful as well, but the second has just been life-changing. So yeah, absolutely.
But also, even the point, I thought Tolkien was slow. Tolkien is slow. I don't know when slow became a problem.
Right. Hobb is too, for that matter, I think, and I love both. So
and that's it's a very strange thing when people say, oh, but this is very slow, as if it is a bad thing. And you go, well, why is suddenly it must not be slow is the thing. Like you go, we have room for very fast-paced stories, slow-paced stories with lots of variation. Something that is more sedate can be incredibly enjoyable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have another Malazan reader here. Thank you so much, Murph. That was a lot of fun talking to Jake for Dear Dr. Fantasy. What a great guy. Yeah, I'm so happy that you're on Bone Hunters, and I hope the videos are helping you out there. And AP, it's you. It's undeniable. If anything emerges from this live stream, I hope it'll be that AP is Tom Bombadil. You do realize this is like justice, AP, for all your earlier jokes.
Don't you jokes me, Dad Pun Master.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have not, but again, this is one I'd love to read. Yeah, AP, have you read Delaney? Yeah,
Chip Delaney. Sorry, Samuel R. Delaney.
Yeah, you've got some stories here. Yeah.
No, but Chip Delaney's books. Chip's writing is stunning. So he, like a lot of the SF writers, he went, I want to tell my story my way, and wasn't beholden to the idea of I am going to write a story for a commercial audience. He wanted to express his art in literature. And yet his books, like Kurt Vonnegut or Philip K. Dick or any of these authors, Ursula Le Guin, they draw you in, and Delaney's writing is stunning and brilliant and challenging, and his perspective is unique, and they are beautiful, challenging, wonderful reads. And challenging is not a pejorative, because we rise to a challenge. If the bar is set at our ankles, we don't grow, we trip on it. And there are these authors that write books that when we read them, we grow.
Yep.
And Delaney's writing is one of those authors as well. His work is stunning and well worth it.
Wow, sounds fantastic. Thank you, Teresa. And here's a great comment. That's great. I mean, I really do feel that it's not a matter of educational background or innate brilliance or anything like that. It's really just adjusting one's expectations. It's almost, I would even venture to guess that people who are not fantasy readers might have some advantages when it comes to reading Malazan. So you can never predict how a series is going to hit somebody, I think.
Yeah, and again, people tend to oversimplify approaches, and they go, "Oh, you have to be this smart," or "Oh, you need a fancy title to read this and understand it, or well, if I need someone with a doctorate to explain it to me, it's not well written. You're like,
Right.
no, it depends on you, the individual reader, the mood that you're in, your experience reading in and out of the genre. If you've read a bunch of short stories, if you know a lot of Faulkner and Hemingway, you start reading Erikson, and Erikson's prose is entirely transparent because you already know the techniques he's using.
Yeah.
You know them inside out if you've read a lot of short stories.
Yeah.
And it's not complicated. Oh, well, I don't know how anyone could follow Malazan without rereading it. You know, I did it the first time I read it. This is the read I am doing with you is the first time I am rereading the series. And oh, lo and behold, I haven't been lost.
And if AP can do it, anybody can, right?
Exactly.
There's Vaughn. Hello, Vaughn. Great to see you. I'll be reading your book in August, and I'm incredibly excited for it. And here we have Mick Garfield. He's always reading something cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading Alex's book someday for sure. And what else have we got here? Oh, what's Iskar saying here? Yeah, exactly. We like the slow ones, right, Iskar? You learn to appreciate some things as you age.
And also we get enjoyment from different things at different points in our life.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. There are certainly books that when I was younger, I would not have read as appreciatively as I do now, and vice versa. Absolutely. So
I think that last comment come up there about publishers reacting to slow. It depends very much on the genre. Like no one is going to accuse a Jane Austen book of being a breathless page turner, and yet Jane Austen regularly sells. Romances regularly sell that are not breathless action sequences. They are these beautiful. Some of them are beautiful, slow, passionate, high tension novels. That it's not about speed. It's about tension and emotion. And I think when we talk about fantasy, we forget there are other genres out there that operate through different paradigms. Dahlgren always first and foremost with Delaney.
Okay.
But other genres have different paradigms. They have different templates that were set in place, and then authors have played with and changed. And there are different ways to explore it. And I think sometimes because we get used to our niche very, very easily, we expect our niche to be universally applied to other forms of literature. And that's why I have said in the past, I think you've said as well, one of the best educations is to read outside the genre, read other types of books, other genres, other time periods. And suddenly a whole world and approach to narrative opens up to you.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you, Damien. It's off at publishers right now, so I won't be needing any beta readers at the moment, but that is a very generous offer. Great to see you, Fallen Adam. And here's some more comments on Dahlgren. How to get into it. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what you'd have to say about that.
Well, but again, it's sitting down and just read it. Like don't try to just read through it, see where it takes you. And then in those moments afterwards, that's when you think back and you meditate on it and you find meaning for yourself. But if you're trying to read Dahlgren because you go, oh, I want an exciting story, it is going to frustrate you and it's not the book for you. So, but I think Dahlgren is one of those books you can read and reread. And Delaney has, there are multiple editions of it that are all slightly different. But also Delaney's written on it. There are a lot of people who have written about Dahlgren. And if you're interested in that, you can go and find fascinating articles that delve into Dahlgren in various ways.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have somebody struggling a bit with Dead House Gates. Fair enough. Iskar Jarek is urging them on with those last 200 pages, and Damien as well. Let's see what we have here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are
That's fair.
other books,
Yeah.
but there are the books that you can turn your brain off and go on cruise control, and they are fun and they are engaging, and we enjoy them, and they are just as worthwhile for some people as something like Malazan. As much as I love Malazan, I don't expect everyone to feel that way about it. I don't expect that type of book to appeal to everyone. And it's, there's a weird thing. People go, oh, I wouldn't recommend Malazan to everyone. You go, no shit. There are no books that I would recommend to everyone.
Absolutely.
Like, that is just such a ludicrous, empty thing to say that seems to emphasize it in some way. It's this special case of book that you have to be very selective about. You go, I wouldn't recommend Joe Abercrombie to everyone. I wouldn't recommend Brandon Sanderson to everyone. I wouldn't recommend Tom Holt or Ursula K. Le Guin to everyone. Like, that just means that I know people that have different opinions and tastes. Oh, I wouldn't recommend this to everyone. Congratulations. Welcome to the human race. You've recognized that other people have different preferences.
And with that wisdom, I think I've just about caught up here with all these wonderful comments. And I think I have taken advantage of my good friend here, AP, for long enough. And let's everybody give AP a round of applause for being here, for supporting me, and even his silly jokes. I guess we appreciate those too. But his wisdom on all of these books. So thank you, AP, for being here, for putting up with me, and for everything you've done for me. It's just more than I can ever express. But this has been a lot of fun. And I want to thank everybody who's been here. And there's Ursi. Hello, Ursi. And just thanks everybody so much. Your support means the world to me, and I am grateful for every single one of you. This has been a great ride, and I'm looking forward to what's to come. AP, you want to make any final comments?
Before you turn off the stream, firstly, let me say thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this. I genuinely enjoy our conversations. I like the fact that we have different opinions on things. We discuss them, and it brings us insight into our own positions as well as into someone else's. And to be part of these discussions with you, to have become friends with you because of all of this, has been an enormous joy in my life. So I wanted to thank you very much for that, Philip. And I want to thank everyone who's been listening for their forbearance in putting up with me when they are used to the smooth Dr. Fantasy.
Yes.
And I think everyone recognizes how wonderful and how supportive that you have been in creating a community, creating a culture of discussion, and being supportive of me and other YouTubers who are out there. So thank you, Philip. And I think this live stream of 15,000 subscribers, 1 million views, this is hopefully the start of a much bigger explosion in climb, because you deserve it. This is the kind of thing that the algorithm should be awarding, that I think is good and beneficial. So thank you very much, Philip, for all that you do.
Well, thanks, AP. That means a ton to me. And everybody, once again, in the chat, I'm going to end the broadcast. And of course, we'll have the awkward 5 seconds where after I push the button where it doesn't end. So we'll just say goodbye to everybody. And thank you so much for being here.
Okay, bye.